Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is James Duggan here with Brendan Graber, and we are going to rewind the Warcraft movie trailer. So, Brendan, let's get started.
It's been a long time coming.
Yes, it has. There are so many call-outs. It's going to take a long time to get through them, so we may as well start straight away. So this first thing we're seeing here is Dune Moreau. Maybe. And then this is very confusing to all of us here at the office because some of us thought it was Dalaran, others thought it was Karazhan. I'm tempted to go with Karazhan because I believe what we're seeing here in just a little bit is Lothar landing, there's a shot of Stormwind, with Medivh. And
I think it's weird because if you go into the history of Dalaran, it was, it used to be in the lore. It was like the Mage City. It was a big capital up near Lordaeron, and then the plague hit in Warcraft 3, and then it just takes off and just disappears, and then you find out later it's in the sky.
Right, but this whole trailer I believe to be a retcon, which means retroactive continuity, because we see a lot of things that if you look at the base lore of Warcraft are not. They don't have continuity with this trailer, basically. So I'm going to go with my gut here and say that this is Medivh we're seeing in the robe up there. We see him a little bit later. He's older than what you would think he would look like in this film.
Also griffins!
Yeah, the griffins
are
pretty badass. That's the first time we see Lothar as well, and this is the first time we see Stormwind here.
I love
at 8 seconds.
This is such a faithful recreation of what you've seen in World of Warcraft. Like we have the main cathedral, the center there, we have the Stormwind Keep on the right. Even off to the left, you can kind of see Elwyn Forest, and even beyond that, Westfall.
Yeah, you can see Westfall there in the distance, and I just love all the different districts here, and we'll see more of Stormwind later. So this is what I believe to be, that doesn't even look like King Lane. Who knows who that is? Oh, that may be Khadgar approaching Medivh.
I think it's Khadgar.
So that would be Medivh, which would make this Karazhan, which would make me right.
Unless he's going to tell the mages, like, yo, my master Medivh, he's been doing some crazy stuff.
So this is Lothar.
Shout out to that banner in the back.
Yes, this is Lothar, played by Travis Fimmel, who many of you may know as Ragnar on Vikings. And he is kind of the protagonist for the humans here. This story is all about the orcs of Outland invading Azeroth through the Dark Portal and taking their land. Here we see
that shot thing.
Yes, please.
I'm pretty sure that shot there is
Red Ridge. Yes,
yeah.
This is the Red Ridge Mountains.
You can see the main bridge there with the dock on the left.
And then if you go up to the right, there's
some Murlocs on the right there. No, you can't see them.
Pass to the Searing
We're hoping
Gorge.
the Murlocs will show up somewhere.
Oh, God, I really hope so. But yeah, I believe this is Red Ridge Mountains, and all of this kind of takes place on the same map of Azeroth if you were to pull it up. There's not a lot that is happening in
Kalimdor? Yeah,
Kalimdor,
that's on Warcraft 3's territory.
Kalimdor is not really in this so far. So here we have Lothar bending over a fallen comrade, and there's a dagger in his back right there. Maybe the work of Garona, played by Paula Patton, who is a large part of the film. Maybe just an orc dagger, who knows?
Yeah. Orcs aren't subtle, though, most of them.
Most of them? The orc rogues, bro.
Speaking of not so subtle, crashing into...
Bam! All right, so those were
party.
the Fel Orcs, and the Fel Orcs are distinguished from other orcs from their green skin. And this is kind of a large part of the story, which is Gul'dan and the drinking of the Fel blood.
It's kind of interesting. There's some weird continuity stuff in this where you can see the Fel blood versus the brown orcs and gray orcs, and why is Thrall green when his parents are brown? We'll see that later.
Yes, it's very confusing.
Yeah.
So this is King Lane.
Looks pretty kingly.
Yes, he is extremely kingly. Tell me about King Lane. What's his deal? First of all, he's played by Donnie Cooper.
So yeah, I mean this is the king of Stormwind. If you follow the lore, Stormwind was the height of its power before the first big war, and then the entire Stormwind gets demolished. Lane dies, and then his son succeeds him to carry on fighting the orcs, and they eventually have
his son being
Anduin,
right? Variant.
Variant, sorry.
Variant, right?
I get these names mixed up.
There's a lot of names.
So many Warcraft power players in this.
Yes. All right, so here we're seeing our first glimpses of Outland, specifically what appears to be Hellfire
Peninsula. You can see a little orc tower on the right there.
So this is post-Sundering Outland.
Yeah,
the Sundering was an event, right?
Back in the day, it used to be a really nice place to live.
Canaan jungle, right?
Yeah, and now it's all, because of the Sundering, there's Fel stuff everywhere. It's just dying.
And here we see our first glimpse at Durotan, which is our orc protagonist, who is played by the very talented Toby Kibble. And then, of course, on the left there, we have Ogrim Doomhammer, which is played by Robert Kaczynski, who not a lot of people know, but he is an actor who has sunk hundreds of hours into World of Warcraft. So he is in very good
I'm
hands.
happy to have him playing Doomhammer.
So they're walking into a Green Orc encampment, and that, we think, is maybe the opening of the Dark Portal.
Yeah, I mean, the Dark Portal tends to have a pretty climatic opening, so I would think that this might be what that represents.
Could also be the Sundering, but maybe not.
Could be.
This is definitely Elwyn Forest and Duskwood, I believe.
Yeah, a lot
we
of
have a
forest
griffin over
areas.
there. It's beautiful. It looks like your home. Goldshire down there.
And here we get a nice look at Durotan and his signature Frostwolf.
His signature Frostwolf. He's the
as-
leader of the Frostwolf clan.
Yeah.
And
You
we'll
know
see
him
that a
well.
little bit later, the Frostwolf flag.
Doomhammer with his legendary Doomhammer.
Yes, absolutely. That is some epic loot. And in fact, there's a wolf in the foreground here, but that's not really
And they're
important.
looking at Westfall.
Oh
and
my
you can
goodness.
tell because on the right there is a harvester.
There is a harvester.
Those crazy
when I
scarecrow
first
robots.
saw this shot, I thought it was the Barons, but that didn't make any sense to me. This is, of course, Westfall, which is just south
It's
of
the
Elwyn
big farmland
Forest.
for all of Stormwind.
Right.
Like all the farming goes on here, so there's plenty of plenty of right places to raid for our new orc brethren.
This appears to be a pillaged Westfall, presumably from the Fell Orcs.
Well, I mean, there was if you go back in the Warcraft lore, when the orcs first came over, there was a little bit of infighting. The Black Hand and Gul'dan were very savage and raiding, whereas Durotan kind of wanted to just hey, why don't we just do our own thing and not antagonize everybody? And kind of Doomhammer was with him on that part too, and that's kind of where they kind of had a fights between each other.
Well, I don't know anything about that, but what I do know is that's Baby Thrall. The question is, why is he green when both of his
Huge ears.
parents... He does have very large ears. Both his parents, that is Draka over there, and we're looking at Durotan, and that is their son Thrall, who is a very major player and still alive in the current World of Warcraft continuity. Look at those sweet tooth piercings.
Oh God! Just makes my teeth hurt just looking at that.
Haven't you had braces?
Why?
This is the orc version of braces.
Why? We have a High Council.
Here's another really nice look at Stormwind.
Wow, it's like Disneyland. I want to go
It
there.
is just beautiful. It's even got the docks down there, which wasn't in until Cataclysm, I believe.
Yeah.
This is another big orc war chief, Ner'zhul, who is the leader of the
The
Shadowmoon
Lich
clan.
King. Before he becomes Lich King.
Oh man, you're cutting deep, my friend. Oh, this is Garona. Very
Can't forget
important.
Garona. She's Garona half-orcan.
Half-orc, the half-orc Garona.
Was
She's an
originally
assassin.
half-human, but then they're kind of, no, half Draenei.
Yes.
And they kind of retcon that. So because of that, she looks very human in appearance.
But maybe she's half human here. This could be a different continuity.
Possibly. It was kind of an experiment by Gul'dan to, and make an assassin that he could control. So she's kind of been brainwashed and tortured and magically altered. And doesn't really have any allegiances. No one likes her. And if you go back right there, we can see the Dark Portal in all its
Shazam.
glory. So it's looking like the staging camp with a nice
That appears
horde
to
banner.
be this is all very confusing because what we thought was Hellfire Peninsula before, which is where the Dark Portal should be, this appears to be more of a Tanaan jungle scenario.
No, this is the.
You think
hu-
this is the Blasted Lands?
No, this is Azeroth. This is the Swamp of Sorrows,
The Swamp of
aka
Sorrows,
the Black
the Blasted
Morass.
Land, right?
It's
right.
kind of like jungling in the background. So yeah, this is the swamp area.
What I think is most cool about this trailer and potentially this movie is if you're a World of Warcraft player, Ogrim Doomhammer there, you can kind of go to these locations and see either a post-timeline version of them, or you can kind of just have a sense of the world in what I've never felt in any film. So right here is a very important call-out. That is the Frostwolf sigil on that banner
these
back
are
there.
the green orcs, the fell orcs, not having too much in common with Durotan, because he wants to be peaceful, and they're like, you know what, let's raid.
Right, led by Gul'dan, who has tainted them with fell blood, maybe.
Yeah.
But this is definitely an orc village being raided by other orcs. So this appears to be the common enemy that Gul'dan and Lothar are fighting. When
Durotan and Lothar.
Yes, excuse me. Durotan and Lothar are fighting when Durotan and Lothar canonically were enemies.
Yeah, I mean, there was in the lore, having between two is their common enemy eventually became Medivh when they realized, because at the beginning no one really knew how the orcs got there or why, and it wasn't until Garona was working with Medivh that she found out with Khadgar, and they became friends. They're like, hey, Medivh, he's kind of been crazy, and he actually orchestrated the Dark Portal opening, and then
with
that's
Gul'dan.
when Garona gets the help of Lothar to turn against Medivh.
So it's maybe compiling a larger story into a smaller timeline,
I
because
think
I
so.
would imagine. There's a
So you can see
Garona in
Garona's
the
on the
back,
horse there.
and she is freed with Lothar here. There's a little bit of a romance thing going on between them, maybe. This appears to be Searing Gorge and the very
there's Black Rock Mountain.
Black Rock Mountain.
Things don't go well here for Lothar. Couple decades later, but
This is sequel
we'll get into that in
territory,
Warcraft
friend.
2.
Let's continue here. So this is Durotan and Lothar meeting, potentially allying against the Fell Orcs. This is Dalaran.
So this is a
which
floating
appears to be
Dalaran.
floating, which is very confusing because again, at this time in the canon, Dalaran had made its liftoff.
I'm sure they're just like, we're wizards. We don't gotta explain anything. It's wizardry.
Magic. This actually a more important shot than I believe it lets on. I believe this is the King Lothar riding to Deadwind Pass, which of course is where.
Yeah, I think this is when they finally
Karazhan
realize,
is,
Medivh needs to be stopped.
Which is where Medivh is, which again goes back to my original point that I was right that was Karazhan way back in the beginning of the trailer.
But I don't think I don't see a giant glowing
It's
tower.
because it's down there, man. It's a pass.
We'll see.
This, I believe, is Blackhand.
Yeah, you can see the Blackhand has the two like dragon bone shoulders.
Right. So what we're seeing is kind of, I believe, the continuity of the plot, which is definitely brought to a head by this scene, which is Durotan punching Gul'dan square in the face,
Nice.
giving him a
Someone's
sweet right hook clock to the dome. Let's see if we can get a nice clean picture of Gul'dan there. Ooh, there's some nice.
Look
Look at that fell blood.
I'm glad that they
There's Gul'dan.
kept yeah.
Gul'dan being a warlock, so it appears to be Gul'dan and Medivh against Lothar and Durotan. Appears to be a synopsis of the plot so far.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of subtext that you can read into of like why Gul'dan's doing this.
Getting a little bit of a romance thing
And
happening.
if you check it out, this little ceremony here, fast forward just a little bit.
Before we get to that, I do
Okay.
want to point out Medivh, what appears to be a very old, haggard-looking Medivh on the right there, quite evil. And again, that looked
Why would you
like.
let an evil guy come to your wedding?
Well, they don't know he's evil. You can't judge a book by its
in
cover.
this shot,
Yeah.
we see our first glimpse of elves.
Elves.
There are 3 of them, and the right side sitting down in the front row.
High elves.
We
later
haven't
known
seen
as
them
blood
at all
elves.
mentioned at all, but I'm really glad we got to see some Silver Moon elves. I hope they show up to fight at some point.
There's a glimpse of Blackhand again. And this is a Moses allegory Thrall being cast
Thrall
into
is
the
literally
river
Moses.
by Draka, his mother. And then that appears to be a green orc coming up behind them.
So she's probably trying to get him away before things go down.
Maybe she might be one of those Disney moments where the mother sacrifices herself for her offspring.
I would say so.
We have no choice. We should attack with full
And here's the battle of the Dark Portal.
Whatever you plan to do, do it now!
Nice little action shots, and then we see right here.
There's the
flying
Dark
into the
Portal,
Dark Portal, the
flying
giant
into the Dark Portal battle, which happens at
Black Morass.
Black Morass, right, which is a dungeon in World of Warcraft.
The Cabbage of Time.
Yep.
Gotta go back in
Medivh.
time. I just want to
Gotta
see
go
like
back
5 like
in
random
time.
like nobodies showing up like, hey, we're here, changing the timeline.
Love it.
So are you excited?
I am super excited. I really like that they're not trying to. They're telling a story that is kind of grandiose on the Warcraft story, but it also is a little myopic in the sense that they're not going crazy with like, here's your token Tauren coming in, and here's your Night Elf with the sweet dagger action. Like
I'm really glad that they're really staying true to like the vision. Like they looked at like World of Warcraft,
Right.
like how it was structured. They took those iconic places and they put them there, and they're really well made. A lot of war, not a lot of craft though. Can we see some building? I want to see some like, hey, we gotta build
wanna see
5
some-
farms.
We have to go collect all these reagents and craft these epic leggings. But yeah, I have to say I'm extremely excited. I've set the stage here with Brendan Graber.
Oh yes.
Given you guys a nice look at what you can expect in June from the Warcraft movie. For all things Warcraft, keep it right here on IGN.